All right. Good evening, everybody. So I'm Nathan, and this is the first live stream that I've done. And I think I've done one previously. I can't remember. It's probably been a while. Um, so this was actually supposed to be on a place called PeerTube, which is um, it's a kind of a uh, federated platform for social media. Um, it's basically a federated version of YouTube, and I was planning to do it on there just to see if I could do it. I guess kind of that engineering mindset. But when I went to test it earlier, it didn't work. So um, probably going to try it again. PeerTube is the platform, the specific server that I use, or the specific domain that I use, is TubeNix, which is hosted by SDF, the Super Dimensional Fortress. It's a public Unix system, or public access Unix system. It's been around since 1987, I believe. So it'll be 34, if it's not 34. I don't remember exactly when it started. Admittedly, I just joined last year. So, but anyway, as I said, I'm Nathan. Um, some of y'all probably know who I am. Probably know me from Georgia Paul, which is a political website or political blog for Georgia. But this is not what we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about stuff I want to talk about. So first off, who am I? Professionally, I'm a mainframe DBA. I work for IBM. So quick note: my opinions that I share here are my own and not my employer's. So take that for what you will. I do not represent IBM in any official capacity. I just work for them, and I'm an IBMer. I'm proud of it. So happy to be there. I'm also an amateur radio operator. My call sign is W4GOP. I'm usually on the air either on HF, which is uh, where you can pretty much talk all over the world, or here lately I've been more on the DMR, which is uh, digital mobile radio is the acronym, but it's a digital mode. It uses pretty much, I think it's the same technology that Motorola has had for a while. Um, and so I'll usually hang out there on the SDF ARC channel, and more than that, or there, and the Southeast Link. Also, kind of hang around on the um, Echolink node for the Southeastern Link, which is hosted by the TSARC. Or no, actually, it's not TSARC. It's the Lookout Mountain Community Amateur Radio Club, I think. Lookout Mountain. I can't remember. In any regard, so happy that I can talk to my buds back home in Chattanooga, or in the Chattanooga area, since it normally links up with the TSARC repeater there on Lookout Mountain, on the south end, kind of. I think it's on towards the south end of Lookout Mountain there in Walker County. So um, I'm also, I say retro tech, and that can cover a whole lot of things. I wasn't. I was alive in the '80s, but I was a little baby, so um, I did have a computer when I was 6 or 7. I can't remember. My dad bought a 486, but I guess with the just kind of prevalence uh, of YouTube and other things, kind of surfing the different channels about older tech and everything has kind of sparked an interest in that. Um, Probably should do a little bit more with it. I am a member, uh, patron, I guess you could say, of the Computer Museum of America over in Roswell, and they have a great collection of old tech from supercomputers. I mean, they have a pretty big stock of supercomputers from Cray to uh, mostly Cray. I can't remember all of them on the top of my head, but they do have other enterprise class servers and supercomputers there. I think they have a couple of things from oh shoot, Silicon Graphics, which I believe Silicon Graphics did a lot of rendering or like films that were made in the 80s, like Toy Story and stuff, were uh, done on Silicon Graphics computers and rendered on those types of computers. And they have 8-bit computers that have been around for during the 70s and 80s. I think they have um, Xerox Alto, I think, which was, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was the first computer to have a GUI interface. I can't remember. I think that's what it was on top of my head, but they have other things. They have a little computer video game demonstration area where you can uh, play with different types of things and all that good stuff. So you can pretty much do whatever you want there. I mean, they do have a pretty good, like I said, pretty good collection. I think, and what's funny is their collection is a lot bigger, but they're still trying to sort everything out, and they don't have enough. Well, I shouldn't put words in their mouth. Um, I don't think they have enough room yet. I think they're working on an expansion upwards in the facility that they're at. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So if you haven't noticed, or like I said, my career has been mostly in the mainframe arena, um, which is probably spurred on why I've kind of had this interest in retro computing and things like that. So I'm happy to be a member of the Computer Museum of America and trying to volunteer with them and things like that. So if you get a chance, if you're in the Atlanta area, they're right off Commerce Parkway. I can't remember what I exit off of 400, but it's worth a trip. It's not that expensive. Um, Give them especially now with everything that's been happening for the last year is kind of starting to subside. Um, I'm glad so far that they've been able to kind of weather that and everything. So hopefully they'll get a little bit more foot traffic and a little bit more interest. I think they have a few camps coming up in the next probably next month. I think they're mostly in the summertime, and so that you know, if you just Google, I can't remember their web address. I probably should have had it earlier. I'll try to have it next time. Just Google Computer Museum of America in Roswell, Georgia. It should be the first one that comes up. So, all right. So I know I talked a little bit about um, amateur radio as well. So, funny thing, well, it's not really funny, but so I've been an amateur radio operator since July of 2007. Then I upgraded to my general in 2012, and then with everything shut down, that gave me a little bit of a respite to study for my extra class, which thing was, so every 10 years, um, not all of them, they're staggered. Uh, the the refresh of the question pools happens about every 10 years or every 10 years in a staggered fashion. And so my goal was to try to get everything taken care of to where I could have just went ahead and gotten my general, or I'm sorry, my extra class before the pool changed in July. And I was well on my way to do it. I was doing my practice exams and, did really well with that and everything like that. The problem was trying to find a testing group that actually would test during, the lockdown, basically. Um, and abiding by social distancing and finding facilities and all this other stuff. So that was a challenge that I did not get to conquer before the pool changed in July. But I think right around that time, uh, the uh, uh, the the then chairman of the FCC, and I think the FCC in general had said, "Oh yeah," because there's probably in the rules, it's not really that clear about remote testing. Generally, and for those who don't know, when you go to sit for your ham radio exam, you sit with basically three proctors. It's very organized, very, very succinct, I guess you could say. It's very structured. Um, certain rules and regulations kind of go with that. But that's pretty much how they've been doing it for, ever since the volunteer exam coordinators have kind of taken over the exams from the FCC, to my knowledge. It might have been a little bit different back years ago, but generally that's been my understanding. Um, and so July 1st rolled around. There was still nothing open. I went ahead and, when I kind of figured that I wasn't going to make the pool, towards the end of, or I'm sorry, when I kind of realized that I was not going to make the deadline, I had decided to just go ahead and start studying for the newer pool, which I think they had actually taken a few questions out. So the good thing is better. Well, maybe not better, but it's a little bit different. I think there's a little bit more of a, you know, computerized or, things like digital modes and stuff like that that have been updated. So started testing that, started taking care, going through the motions of testing for those things and all that. And so nothing was open up in July, but I did see a few online, you know, examinations being offered. And I think about a month or 2 months before, the FCC basically said, "Oh yeah, y'all can test remotely. That's no problem." I think they even said there really was no regulation or there was no rule against it, but I don't think there was really an organized effort to do it because usually when you go for your ham radio exam, it's either done at Hamfest or clubs will do it, usually during their club night or right before or right after their club meeting, or they have a special time where they do it, like on a Saturday, where, at a church or a library or something. And so it's like, okay, well, cool. I could, take my exam in the comfort of my apartment. And there was, it's like very strict. I took my laptop. I think some of the rules were they kind of laid it out. You couldn't have any sort of um, anything near you. It's like you had to be around, you know, basically yourself and four walls. So they recommended, they said that people that they have proctored would do it in the bathroom or in the bedroom. As strange as the bathroom sounds, that's what I chose. Because, there was really nothing that I had to move. You basically hold up your laptop and show them around um, your room, whether it's, an office or whatever. So it's really regulated. You had to have your laptop and a phone so they could see you. And they said your eyes are not to move off of the screen. If you look over or you look up, or you had to focus square on your screen or else you were disqualified. So a little stressful. And then the phone camera was aimed at your hands, basically at the bottom of your hands. And so that was, I don't think it was really the most stressful test, but it was definitely very, like, the folks that were proctoring were very ready to get it done. I think they've been trying to, I think they're just trying to do it in the most efficient way possible to get you in and out so you're done. If you pass, you pass. If you fail, well, you'll get to try again another time. So did all that, passed pretty well, better than I thought. I think I got a 97 on it. So upgraded to my extra class. They sent me uh, their certificate of examination, and I think my license was updated within 24 hours. It was the fastest I had seen. Um, so if you're looking at getting your amateur radio license, don't be discouraged by something like that. If you can't find, I think most clubs are starting to meet again. I think they're starting to um, offer testing sessions and things like that. So it's a lot more. It's not as closed off as were a year ago. I haven't been to the local. I'm a member of the Gwinnett Amateur Radio Society, so I haven't been. I don't know if they're meeting in person yet. I know the TSARC, Tri States Amateur Radio Club, are up in Northwest Georgia. So I think they're offering testing sessions in person. I know you can. I think if you go to the ARRL.org, you can find people. You can find testing teams who are near you. So now, granted, that's their VEC, and I won't get into. There's different ones, but generally, if you go to the ARRL, they'll be able to point you in the right direction. So. Um, There's also been a few projects with amateur radio that I probably won't get into tonight because I want to talk about a few other things. I know I'd mentioned PeerTube or TubeNix. TubeNix being the domain hosted by, or don't, TubeNix being the domain hosting platform. I don't know if I said that correctly, but whatever. Uh, Basically, TubeNix is sponsored or hosted by SDF. And it's really hard for me to say because there is an application basically or tool on the mainframe called SDSF. So if I slip up and say SDSF when I mean SDF, that's probably what it's probably just a, you know, brain fart that I just, didn't even think about. So anyway, SDF is a public access Unix system, as I said before. It's a uh, pretty interesting group of people. It's a community. I mean, it's a social community, I guess you could say. It's a social networking place, but it's not. It's basically kind of what you did before there were things like Facebook and Twitter and MySpace. They've got a bulletin board service, sort of, kind of. Actually, they started out as a bulletin board service, and they do host a couple of internal bulletin boards, not like the old bulletin board services that you could do through Telnet. And I'll get to that in a little bit. Um, and so the SDF is, you know, kind of a collection of folks through all sorts of walks of life, and kind of brought together by our interest of open source and Linux or Unix, because it is Unix based. It is NetBSD, which is Unix. It's not Linux, but you know, cousins. Almost said something else, but they're at least cousins. So if you go to sdf.org, you can sign up for an account. They have IRC chat, internet relay chat. There's COM mode, and when it's spelled out, it looks like commode, and I'm pretty sure that was on purpose, because you know, folks like to make jokes like that. They host their own, or they, whatever you want to say, host their own VoIP, voice over IP server, so you can sign up for that. And if you notice my title, right, right here, that's the command. My username is Dr. Elcott, and Dr. Elcott is a homage to the Phil Hendry Show. He's a character on Dr. Ed Elcott is a character on the Phil Hendry Show, who is a religious leader, supposed to be, but really more of a weird cult. And it's obviously, I'm not a cultist, or you know, I'm a Christian, so I just find him funny. You know, sidetrack a little bit. Dr. Elcott is kind of a eccentric. You know, he is, you know, the cult slash religion was founded by his great grandfather, something like that. And even though he has the family name, he gets no respect. He gets, you know, everybody passes over him. He's like a middle manager almost in the organization. So he gets no respect. He gets nothing. He just kind of, but he puts up with it, you know. So he's probably one of my favorite characters on the show. So you know, and I'll probably talk about Mr. Henry, as some of his fans like to call him. So, but anyway, the finger Dr. Ellicott at sdf.org is a command, basically, that you can get information about. So if you have it, I think I tried it in the Windows command, but basically, if you have a Unix, Linux, Mac OS terminal, you just put that command in there, and it spits out, you know, kind of the contact information, like my location, kind of short biography, and I said contact information throughout the Fediverse, and including my voice over IP extension on SDF. So, which you don't necessarily have to be a member of to call SDF, but I'm not going to give the number out right now. I'll do that later. I know I said that a lot, but I guess that's supposed to keep y'all hanging on. So, but anyway, back to SDF. The fun part is, one of the reasons why I wanted to do a live stream, I guess, was at 200 UTC, which I think is about 10 o'clock, should be 10 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. There is what they call open VoIP. And if you go to anonradio.net, the SDF the SDF conference line is hooked up to a non-radio. And basically, it's just people, and you don't have to have a voice over IP number to participate. You can, there's a direct dial in number that you can get, or that you can, I think it's out on anonradio.net, and you can go dial in, talk to folks, and it usually just kind of, I think the last few times I've been on there, a guy by the username of Jazzmaz, has been talking about TI 99, I believe. And I think we've talked about that. We've talked about um, Quantum Link, which is the direct predecessor to AOL. Um, Funny enough, there was probably a point where Quantum Link and AOL were living on the same server. And Quantum Link was used, I think, primarily for, if not exclusively for, Commodore 64 users. So um, that service went away, but some folks have, I believe, reverse engineered some of the code and everything. So and they created their own version of Quantum Link, and you can access it through an emulator. You don't actually have to have um, a Commodore 64 or RS-232, cartridge to hook up to a modem or anything. You can access it through an emulator, and I think Jazzmaz is the one that, or he's at least one of them that has an active server that you can connect to, and there's instructions out there you can find. So there's been a lot of interesting discussion around that. A lot of the folks on SDF have, a lot of them are amateur radio operators. In fact, we have a amateur radio club. It's not it's, you don't have to be a member of SDF to participate, but it's always good to join in and check in through either Echolink or the DMR bridge or DMR talk group that is linked in to Echolink. So um, a lot of interesting just people that you meet that you meet online, and it's services like those that to me have more of a purpose. It seems like they're more purpose, they're participating because they want to, not because, and there are differing opinions that come about time to time, but it's generally tech focused. And of course, tech people can be a little ornery sometimes, so to speak. But it's everybody generally treats each other with respect and graciousness, to so to speak. Pretty inclusive, pretty open with everybody. Um, in the almost year I've been there, I haven't really seen a whole lot of you know problems. I think the only problems that I've seen were things like people trying to abuse their accounts and spam the chat rooms. And usually that's, usually the folks like myself and other people who are on there pretty frequently will, you know, are quick to hit the ban button, so to speak, because they're purposefully abusing resources, and that's not fair to people, who want to use it. And the other thing too is it's a non-commercial endeavor, so they're not, you know, the membership, you can be a member, you know, for $1 pretty much, unless you have somebody that is willing to um, verify your account. But once you're a verified user, you don't really have to do a whole lot. You don't really have to, you can just be a verified user and you don't have to pay anything else. Now, granted, you get more access, you get to do more things as you know, basically buy your access, and you can become an ARPA member for I think $36. It's a single lifetime membership, so once you pay $36, you're set. And then there's Meta ARPA that is a I think $36 annual fee or annual membership. And the money basically goes to make sure that the system stays up, because systems take power, they take internet connection, they take, regular maintenance. Things die, you got to replace hard drives, you got to replace systems hardware, so, it's not like a, uh, basically, the admins who run it are covering their cost for running it. And they may actually probably pay a little bit more in, like utilities and things and rent and, because I'm not entirely sure where it's hosted. I know it's hosted out in Seattle, but, it's a little bit different. It's a different mindset, I guess you could think. So, but, I think that's all I'm going to do this evening. Um, I don't know how often I'll do this, but just me kind of rambling on about technology stuff. I don't have a lab or a project room or anything like that in my apartment, but at some point in the future that might happen, and maybe I'll do something a little bit more. But until then, we will just keep on trucking, and we will see what we do later on. So this is Dr. Elcott signing off.